Nation, the entertainment feed community, Wagwan, we're there on the Wednesday at Trendy Wednesdays. Today is also Valentine's Day and also another holiday that I see a lot of people not paying much attention to. Ash Wednesday. Most people are focused on the love part of today and not really the ash part of I don't know if that makes any sense. But still, maybe some not to penny Ash Wednesday because it not normally fall on on Valentine's Day. But on to the topics them donation. Well, the topic, the most talked about topic right now, Vybz Kartel's Privy Council hearing. Forgive me for not to showing the visuals. I don't want to chance it because on Privy Council website they stated that we should not reshare, capture or do anything with the footage in any form of way. We aren't even allowed to show pictures of inside or outside the courtroom, much less the people inside of the court. Some people risk it still, you know. And to be honest, why not risk it? This is such a big moment. Although at the end of the day, even Vybz Kartel himself shared back the clip. Even Vybz Kartel's lawyer himself reshared the clip. And I think he knows better, so I'm assuming this won't be a problem. But back to Vybz Kartel's post. Bounty Killer in the comment section stating, retrial and speed dial. So Bounty Killer said based on what is going on, it is a retrial. Listening to Politics Watch the other night, although didn't seem too excited about the thought of Vybz Kartel being released. But according to what he was saying, if nothing, this would lead to a retrial and that might lead to Vybz Kartel's freedom. Because for the retrial, it is one of the most difficult things. Witness not to want to sit through that whole hard deal again. Officers and people who were involved in the case not really want to go through the whole of that period again, so it might just throw out the window and the Vybz Kartel might just be able to walk free. Vybz Kartel's lawyer Isaac Buchanan, he's feeling freedom. As stated before, he shared a snippet of what went on in the courtroom with the caption stating, "Free at Vybz Kartel priors Isaac Buchanan, you doing your thing." Thank dead end, but of course, you see what going on. And you're supposed to also realize that Isaac Buchanan, he did not make the original post, but he reshared the clip. But as a matter of fact, even Vybz Kartel himself has sensed that freedom is close. He shared this picture with Freddie McGregor's Prophecy playing in the background.
But freedom is a must, I know.
Still Nation, let's look at a few of the main points and the arguments brought to the courts from both sides. First of all, this guy that was on the appellant side, basically on the Vybz Kartel side I should say, representing Vybz Kartel, he was not nervous or anything like that. It is obvious that he had some kind of speech problem. I see a lot of people stating that it is a speech impediment. You can just simply say speech disorder, but you know, if an impediment they want to work with, fine. And also, I see that some people are watch it and are confused. They basically don't understand who and who represent Vybz Kartel or who and who are try basically fighting to keep Vybz Kartel behind the bars. And the reason why I say that, the same guy that I'm speaking about right now, some people believe that this man was fighting against Vybz Kartel or this man was against Vybz Kartel on the opposing side. But no, he's not. As a matter of fact, over on the prosecutor side, when they spoke about evidence found in Shawn Storm's phone, the evidence in the phone showed that Shawn Storm knew that Lizard was going to be executed. And they also stated that the evidence in the phone also pointed that Shawn Storm knew about the execution after it took place. But over on Vybz Kartel's side, apart from the fact that they are stating that the evidence was illegally obtained because Officer Corporal Brown, I think, did not have authority or was not given authority to collect evidence from Digicel. There was no warrant given for inception and that is a breach of the legislation. But none of that mattered because the judges, they were more focused and did not want to get past the fact that the judge in the original case, Suckman Ada Lennox, knowingly let a corrupt juror remain in the jury. They are stating that the judge should have dismissed that juror. Although the prosecutors basically argued that you cannot let one bad apple spoil the bunch. Not just that, there were 10 other jurors that gave a guilty conviction. But the lords, they argue that a corrupt juror is just the same as someone with mental health and should not be a part of the jury. Also, only a jury can give a verdict and a jury consists of 11 honest jurors. None should be corrupted. So that alone basically should have led to a mistrial. But let me just quickly read a little article from over the Jamaica Gleaner. Vybz Kartel jury issues dominate first day of Privy Council hearing. The question of whether Justice Lennox Campbell was obligated to dismiss a tainted juror in the Vybz Kartel murder trial appears to be the issue which could determine the outcome of the entertainer's appeal of his 2014 conviction at the UK-based Privy Council. The court on Wednesday morning began hearing arguments in the appeal filed by Vybz Kartel, whose given name is Adisha Palmer, Shawn Storm Campbell, Kyra Jones, and Andre St. John. They were convicted in March of 2014 of the murder of Clive Lizard Williams, One of the jurors in the case, Livingston Kane, was found guilty of offering $500,000 bribe to the jury foreman to influence other jurors to return a not guilty verdict in the case. The law lords on Wednesday asked attorneys to focus on the attempted jury tampering issues. The questions being considered in relation to the attempted bribery are whether the judge was obligated to dismiss the jury, and if not, whether his actions to manage the situation were sufficient. Attorney for the appellant argued in the morning session should not have been allowed to continue as he was tainted, and that knowledge of the offer of the bribe might have influenced the other jurors to return a guilty verdict. So let me just quickly speak on this before I move on. They're basically stating that although one juror was paid to say not guilty, that alone might have an impact on the other jurors. They might think that Vybz Kartel and others must be guilty. That is why they are offering to bribe a juror. We are continuing though. However, King's counsel Peter Knox, who appeared on behalf of the prosecution, argued that one bad apple should not lead to the dismissal of the entire jury. Kane's dismissal would have meant that the trial could not continue, as there would only be 10 jurors remaining following the earlier discharge of the female juror. Defendants can't derail trails just by making bribes to the juries, Knox argued, adding that it would bring the jury system into a disrepute if an entire panel were to be dismissed because of one bad juror. He also said that the trial judge was placed in a challenging situation which he handled most sensibly, as the information about the attempts to tamper with the juror came right at the end of the trial. Knox said it would have been difficult to get a retrial, and the prosecution had stated that it was prepared to take the risk going forward. However, the Privy Council judges questioned whether the fact that the case would have been restarted was enough reason for the trial judge not to dismiss Kane. They noted that a judge cannot sidestep the requirement to dismiss a juror in instances where they were found to be unfit, such as if they suffer from a mental illness. So they are stating that the chance of the case restarting shouldn't have been enough for the trial judge to not dismiss Kane. Simply means that the case could have restart 1 million times. From there is a corrupt juror on board, you have to get rid of him, or that person should not have been allowed to remain in the jury. Continue. The judges also had questions about Justice Campbell's directions to the juror following the discovery of the bribe attempt. They questioned whether he had instructed them not to hold the issue against the defendants in the case. Knox noted that the judge had persistently issued very strong warnings to the jurors throughout the trial and had spoken to the jury foreman and asked her to tell her fellow jurors to remember their oath. So the prosecution has said, even though the judge allowed the trial to continue, allowed Kane to be a part of the jury, the judge multiple times reminded them not to take the bribe attempt in consideration. They should not judge Vybz Kartel or the others based on a juror getting paid to influence others to give a not guilty verdict. He also stated that the judge over and over again reminded the jurors to remember their oaths. We are continue. However, the Lords questioned whether the trial judge had delegated his duties to the foreman. Earlier, attorney for the appellants, Isaac Buchanan, said they are pushing for their conviction to be quashed. There is no cure, no proviso, or no thought of a retrial or a second bite of the apple, he stated. The hearing continues on Thursday morning. Why? The Lords them a hammer Justice Lennox Campbell, although the judge wasn't there, but the Lords hammered the judge for how the judge went about things. I wonder if the trial judge telling the foreman to pass on the message to the jurors, if that will be an issue, because they made mention of that, stating that the judge basically pass on their duties to the foreman, and a message like that to the juror telling them to remember the oath and don't judge Vybz Kartel and his co-accused based on the bribe attempt. That message should have personally been mentioned to the jurors by the judge. More will be mentioned tomorrow, a lot more about so far. It is looking damn good for Vybz Kartel and his team. Based on how the Lords are deal with it, if they were in charge of this case, as in if they were the judges to begin with, this case might have been thrown out from day one. And not only that, I feel as if there are a few more things about the prosecution and the appellants will throw forward. For example, the likes of that damning voice note. Will that be mentioned? So far though, the judges, they seem to can't get past the fact that there was a corrupt juror on board. Not just that, the judge allowed the corrupt juror to continue being a part of the jury. Not just that, why the judge at that point never clear out the whole jury and call it a mistrial? Gather them evidence and come again. Nation, before we close off, poll, what do you think will be the outcome of this case? Will Vybz Kartel be freed? Will Vybz Kartel remain behind the bars? Will there be a retrial? Will Vybz Kartel be freed? The entertainment feed community, do state your thoughts in the comment section. For now, you see what time I clock, you see what time I knock. We are hurry and get the fuck out of here. And as usual, my people.